listeners. Welcome to another episode of Melting Pot, a series of conversations with guests who inspire and who are also change makers. My guest today is Yasir Anwar. Yasir is the founder of Mahira Foundation based in Delhi. This foundation was founded by some very young professionals for the sole objective of human development to its fullest. I can't wait to know more about Yasir and the foundation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Yasir.
Thank you so much.
I am really looking forward for you to talk to my listeners and me about the Mahira Foundation and what it does and what it means to you. But before we start talking about the foundation, because I know you have plenty to, I'm sure, share, I'd like to know a little bit about you. So are you originally from Delhi?
Yes, actually, I'm based in Delhi. So let me introduce to you myself. I'm Yasir Anwar. I born and brought up in Delhi, which is the national capital of India. And presently, I'm working as a researcher under National Cultural Audiovisual Archive project at Indira Gandhi National Centre for the Arts. And previously, I was working with Mehrangarh Museum as part of a curatorial team. There, I was assisted in collection management, research, curation, conservation, and digitization. And as far as my academic background is concerned, I'm master's in Archaeology and Heritage Management from Delhi Institute of Heritage Research and Management. And I'm graduated in History Honors from Zakir Hussain College. And I am also heading Myra Foundation.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. So, how did interest in archaeology and heritage actually come about? Was this something that you always wanted to do, or is it something that you got into?
Basically, I got into archaeology when I was doing my master's in history honors. So I got to know about the Harappan civilization and also prehistoric times, how things evolve, whether it's biological evolution or the cultural evolution. So I was quite intrigued towards to learn, how things really dig out, how the excavation take place. So I was quite interested during my graduation. So that's why I enrolled myself into archaeology and heritage management.
Okay, so you mentioned that you were in Jodhpur, right, for a while?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so, any interesting anecdotes from the time? Were there any discoveries that you made? What kind of curation was being done? What kind of preservation is being done for? You mentioned the?
Yeah, it's Mehrangarh Fort.
Mehrangarh Fort.
Yeah.
So, what kind of preservation work is involved in? Because there's a lot of, in Rajasthan and in other parts of India, there's a lot of historical sites which clearly over the years with the climatic changes and all of that, there's definitely wear and tear. So what kind of conservation goes into it?
Yeah, so actually, after finishing my master's in archaeology and heritage management, I joined as an intern at Mehrangarh Fort Museum, which is in Jodhpur, Rajasthan. So I started working with a curatorial team. So initially, the work was the collection management because they had more than 10,000 of artifacts which belong to the Marwar dynasty. So I started working on that. So I really want to thank to Mr. Karni Singh Jasol, who is a director there, and Dr. Sunaina Rathore. So she was the one who was helping me out to understand the practical knowledge because I studied a lot of theoretical things in college, but I didn't had any practical experience. So I started to basically inventorization the entire collection and also started working on the documentation part. And simultaneously, because I was there for 4 years, so I started working on other parts as well. Like I do a curation and a lot of other stuff like conservation was one of the part, digitization was also one of the part, and also the research. So when I went there, the galleries were there, but we were in charge to take the rounds of the museum to observe things, whether we can make it display more appealing for the visitors. So I remember there was a gallery called Daulat Khana. So I was the one who was quite interested towards numismatic, the coins collection. So I basically put together a display there for the numismatic collection, ranging from the Mughal coins to the Marwar coins and the East India Company coins. So I still remember that. And we also participated in the painting gallery. We did different kind of exhibition there. And in conservation, I really want to name that lady. Her name was Deborah Lee. She was a metal conservation from UK. So she came to Mehrangarh for basically conserve the artifacts of metalwork. So I assisted her in metal conservation. So that was all my work there at Mehrangarh. So it's been 4 years of journey. So I really want to thank each of everyone who helped me a lot while I
That's,
was there.
that's amazing. So it was not so much the structural conservation, but it was more of the collections that,
Yeah.
okay, I understand. Why did you not then look at some other historical sites, palaces or forts, let's say within Rajasthan, to work with them and continue your work with, the whole conservation of all the collections of the art and the metal pieces and all of that? Why did you not continue to do that?
So basically, when I was working with Mehrangarh Fort Museum, so I got to know about a lot of other things. So when I was studying in masters, so I got to know about archaeology and only heritage management. When I visited Mehrangarh, so I got to know about how the collection can be managed, how the curation part take place, conservation, digitization, the other aspects of museum. So I was quite interested towards working in the same domain because my expertise was also there, and I really want to work on the same aspect rather than exploring new fields. So I continued with Mehrangarh because at that time there was an opportunity there. And the other forts, to be very frank, actually I was not quite familiar about the other forts, but I was quite interested toward Mehrangarh because I remember when I was in college, so I've heard from my seniors that Mehrangarh Fort is one of the must visit site in your lifetime. So that's why I visited there and I started working there.
Okay, that's interesting. So obviously that experience was so enriching for you, and clearly you've learned a lot after having spent those 4 years there. So moving on to Mahira Foundation, how did that come about?
Okay. It was in the year of 2016 when the vision of Myra was brought to life by a young professional, as you mentioned. And after finishing my 4 years in Mehrangarh, I moved from Jodhpur to Delhi. I got opportunity in Delhi at IGNCA. So I had enough time to start something my own. And I always wanted to start something my own because I had a lot of practical experience after working at Mehrangarh. So I was looking for some low cost model where you can spend time, energy, but you didn't have money. So I started with tuition classes at home only. So I started teaching my cousins at home, like 2 students initially, and I instantly got a positive response from them. So I decided to rent it a space and started teaching there.
Sorry, so what were you teaching?
So I was teaching some academic classes. I
Okay.
remember I was so academic, I was teaching them history, political science, geography, other subjects also. So it was quite interesting for me and for them all as well. So, and later on, actually, I rented a space and I start teaching a lot more people. And after some point of time, I required some educators at my premises. So I invited a lot of educators to come as a faculty member. And so far, we have got around 8 faculty members, and we have nearly 100 students who are coming on site and studying. But during this lockdown time, actually, we have shifted all our classes to online platform. So it's been a journey. Like 4 years, we are teaching a lot of students, and I'm also teaching on several other places, not just limiting myself with Myra Foundation. I'm also working as a visiting faculty for Tarakki Foundation. I'm also teaching at Indian Islamic Cultural Center for entrance exams. And I'm also being associated with IGNCA as a faculty for post graduation diploma courses in cultural informatics or in preventive conservation and also in digital library. So a lot of things are going on in educational sector.
Okay. I mean, and your contribution, I'm sure, is much appreciated and will go far. You've mentioned in your on your website that your strategy is to educate and empower the vulnerable sections of society. So
Yeah.
is that the sort of section of people that you actually, or students that you target?
Yeah, actually, when I started education at Mahira Foundation, so my objective was to reach out to the right people who are not getting access to go to school or other places. And so I started teaching them on street itself. So it was my first intention to teach them because I had enough time at that point of time. So I started teaching them, but when I rented a space, so I invited them to come to our premises. So I started teaching them, and I also organized a lot of events for them. Like we have some events called Teaching at Streets, or we organize a lot of art and craft workshop for them. So all sort of people were coming to us, whether they are the marginalized group or whether they are coming from some good background. So we are not hesitating ourselves teaching to everyone. So we invited all people and all students to come and study from us. So we are kind of helping to all sort of people, all sort of students.
And do you just have one center or do you have multiple locations?
So at present, we have just one center in Old Delhi. I must tell you that, we are located in one of New Delhi's most magnificent historical district, which is Purani Delhi or Old Delhi, where the past and present seamlessly coalesce and become a spectacle. So,
okay, so just some more details on that for all the listeners who've never been to Delhi and who've never experienced the richness of, especially like you mentioned, Old Delhi. So are there, you've said there's like a seamless connection between the old and the new. So are there any historical sites in Old Delhi? What makes Old Delhi special?
okay, so let me just give it you a little background about Delhi. So you will understand, and I hope listeners will also understand, why they should visit Delhi. So throughout history, multiple rulers have lived the dream of establishing an empire in India. Most of them made Delhi as a center of their rule. As rulers changed, capital transformed. So did the names of Delhi. Why so Delhi is also known as the city of seven towns. I don't know whether you have heard about the seven cities of Delhi, but Delhi has a history of nearly 1,000 years. And the first city of Delhi was Shahar Rai Pithora or Kila Rai Pithora. And it was founded by Rai Pithora, the king, in 1052 AD. And the second city of Delhi was Siri by Lauddin Khilji. The third city of Delhi was Tughlaqabad by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. The fourth city was Japana by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The fifth city was Firozabad by Firoz Shah. The sixth city was Deenpana by Humayun. And the seventh city was Shahjahanabad, where I'm residing and my institute is. So seventh city, Shahjahanabad, it is basically named after the fifth Mughal emperor. His name was Shah Jahan, and he's more renowned for the construction of Taj Mahal. So whoever is coming to Delhi, they should see all seven cities of Delhi, which has a history of nearly 1,000 years. And Shahjahanabad, the place where I'm talking about, the Old Delhi. So there are several names for Old Delhi. Old Delhi, Purani Delhi, Shahjahanabad. It was founded by Shah Jahan and named after himself. And after Shah Jahan, when New Delhi, the eighth city of Delhi, came into existence, so Delhi, the Shahjahanabad part became Old Delhi, and the New Delhi became the capital of India.
Okay, so all these other cities that you've mentioned, other than Old Delhi, they are still there.
They are still there, exactly. Some are in a very good condition. Some are in they are dilapidating or they're just destroying because of a lot of reasons.
So because there is so much history that makes, okay, we'll just talk about Delhi and not the rest of the country, because then that can end up into like hours of talking. So why is, there are only some historical sites which are like maybe the Red Fort and the Qutub Minar that have been conserved, and there's constant upkeep. Why is it not the same because clearly since Delhi has transitioned, as you mentioned, capital for so many different parts of history, and at every stage Delhi has played a very important role. So why is there no conservation of, other parts of the historical sites of Delhi?
You're listening to a fusion of stories recounted for the first time ever by some fascinating people from across the globe with me, Payal, on this very unique and special podcast series, Melting Pot.
So actually, I would like to mention that, since it's been 4 years, we are doing such kind of an activities. I really don't want to credit to myself, but I really want to credit to all the people who have been working so hard to doing the heritage walks of Delhi. So in heritage walks, what we are doing, we're
Sorry,
just
so
taking
you're actually doing heritage walks
exact
as a part of the Mahira Foundation.
as part of the Myra Foundation.
Oh,
Sorry, I didn't mention in the beginning.
no, no,
Like, I
that's
mean, we
okay.
so initially, actually, we started with an educational thing, and now we added one more head, which is art and culture, which basically deals with museums, archives, and cultural institutions. And we are also doing heritage walk. We have come up with an online store, and we are also planning. Actually, we have just started with digital marketing platform and also with the consultation platform. So this is what all we are doing under Mahira Foundation. And
Yeah, but I think my question was more as to why are these historical sites now virtually ruins and not being highlighted through your foundation? Could you not, and you are an archaeologist, could you not sort of encourage the necessary, I don't know what it would fall under, departments or whatever you may call them, to actually raise funds and help in conserving and improving these heritage sites?
yeah, so actually, I was mentioning about the heritage walk. So through heritage walk, we are just trying to make aware about the places to the people's life. Like, I mean, we are just trying to tell them, I mean, this is a important and historical site. So we just need to try to preserve and restore that. But because some of the properties, some of the places, as you have mentioned about Qutub Complex, you have mentioned about the Red Fort. So they all come under, they are World Heritage Site. They comes under Ministry of Culture. So they are just trying to invest a lot of money because they are receiving a lot of guests from all over the world, and they are also generating funds. But what about the places which are really neglected, the places which are especially in Old Delhi? For example, we have a lot of havelis mentions here in Old Delhi, which are like Razia Begum Haveli and other places also. So they are really neglected because the places are not that good enough, or like, I mean, the government is not spending anything on them because actually the places are not generating funds for them. So what we can do is we are just trying to make people aware by taking them around and telling them, and this is also one of the historical places. So we are trying to do our part, like making people aware about the places which are really important in terms of history, in terms of architecture, in terms of cultural background. So we are helping them, and we are also doing a lot of on-site visits and also inviting a lot of people to those places and asking them if they can just write, like if whether they'll be able to write reviews or an article about the places which they have visited and your feedback. So after some point of time, government will get to know, and they'll definitely start working towards that properties as well. So that's sort of our contribution to those places.
Okay, yeah, which is I guess the first step to create awareness. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's fascinating. So who are the kind of people who sign up for these heritage walks? Are they local people from Delhi? Do you also get a lot of tourists from different parts of the world? How do you because it's also very important to promote these heritage walks in order for you to then get that traction. So who are the kind of guests that you have who are involved in the heritage walks, and how do you promote?
So basically, in Heritage Walk, we are getting guests from all over India, from different parts of India, and also from abroad. So we have two partners, or so to say, collaborators. One is Go in the City, who is getting us people from all over India. So they basically invite people from India itself, and the other company is Teles. They are getting guests from abroad. So we are just customizing tours for them. Basically, it could be a architectural tour, it could be a cultural tour, it could be a market tour, it could be a food tour. So we are just trying to customizing the tours as per the need of the guest, and we are also giving the background about the cities as well to make awareness. To it's sort of edutainment, little education, the background about the places, and also an entertainment through the walks. So it's around 2.5 hours of walk of Old Delhi and other monuments as well. Like we are doing all sort of walks in Delhi. So under Myra Foundation, as of now, we have around 45 to 50 walks. Which we have already customized. Our synopsis is also there on our website. And so this is how we are trying to reach out to the maximum people, whether they are in India, whether they are in abroad. So we are just trying to attract them to come and explore Delhi city with us.
Oh, that's interesting. And I think that's the first step. And then I'm sure as it gets more and more traction, there's a likelihood of some people from maybe outside of India who are fascinated with the Indian history and culture, or even people from within India may want to support and help in improving the quality of those historical sites if it's archaeology. What about food? I mean, that must be really fascinating because and how do you ensure hygiene? How do you, when you take people on the food tours, how do you ensure that people do? Because I mean, my vision of Old Delhi is quite from whatever I have seen online, so how, yeah, and it's quite chaotic. So,
Okay.
yeah, so how ensure the quality of the food wherever you take your guests, it doesn't get compromised?
So as I have mentioned that, I mean, I born and brought up in Delhi and especially in Old Delhi. So I have visited almost all the food joints in my childhood. So I got to know about people through that only. So for example, if you are taking to someone to some place, so the places are already tested and they all have the certification by the government. And for example, if you are taking them to Jalebi Wala, so they're selling since like more than 100 years. Even if there is Bade Miyan ki Kheer, so they're also selling the same stuff from like more than 100 years. So most of the shops are quite older and they have acknowledged by a lot of newspapers, a lot of media persons. So they are already renowned places in Old Delhi. So it's like street food. So you just need to come and enjoy by yourself the food of Old Delhi. There are a lot of things in Old Delhi where you can try. Whether you are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, you have a plenty of options. You have the place called Chandni Chowk where you will find all sort of vegetable food, whether it's chaat or whether it's jalebi, samosas, or anything, whatever you would like to eat. And you have another place called Jama Masjid where you will find all sort of non-vegetarian food. There you have Kareem's, Al Jawahar, and other places as well to enjoy the non-vegetarian food.
Wow, it's mouth watering.
I hope you should plan your visit soon to Delhi.
Yeah, yeah. After obviously this whole
Yeah, the
pandemic
pandemic and all.
situation
Yeah,
has, yeah.
yeah, true.
So these heritage walks are obviously impacted at the moment, right?
Right.
So what are you doing? Are you doing anything? Food, obviously you can't really do anything virtually, but are you doing anything virtually in order to keep the people engaged?
Yes, actually, in Education Head, we are planning basically, we are doing a lot of virtual tours for them. For example, we are doing a lot of webinars for like right now, we have submitted a proposal to Ketan Public School, which is in Ghaziabad, for a webinar related to the seven cities of Delhi and also for like the New Delhi, the Lutyens Delhi. So we have submitted two proposals to them. Hopefully, if they'll sign up, then we have in November, we have a lot of virtual tours which we are going to line up. And this is how we are trying to connect with people in education. We are trying to provide an educational tours and also heritage work. If somebody would like to do a virtual tour on site, then we can also plan for them. So as of now, we are trying to utilize our time into the back end work. Like we are trying to prepare more synopsis, more study, and more work related what really need to be implemented in future. So this is how we are proceeding as of now.
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. What is your favorite part? I know you grew up, you live in Old Delhi, but what is so that aside, what is your favorite part of Delhi?
Even though I can't be partial, but I don't, I don't mind telling you the place which I like the most. Obviously, Old Delhi, because I have seen a lot of continuity and change here. I remember when I was kid, so I used to go to school on a bus. So basically, I used to see a lot of bullock carts. But right now, actually, I can see I it's really difficult to find bullock carts here. It's really difficult to find such things which were quite familiar here in Old Delhi. So earlier there were a lot of shops of utensils which were quite famous during Mughal time. But now I can see only one or two shops. So most of the market has been changed from like utensils to wedding card market. So now Chabri Bazaar has become one of the Asia's #1 paper card market. So I've seen a lot of continuity as well as a change. Like Urdu Bazaar was famous for publication, for related to Urdu literature and all. Still, there are 2-3 shops. Even Chavdi Bazaar was quite famous for like brass utensils, but now the tradition is still alive and still gone. So it's like a study between like continuity as well as change. And Chani Chowk was quite famous for like you can say that perfumes or like different kind of a clothes. Still the market is there. You will find a lot of shops which are selling bridal wares, and a lot of perfume bottles are also there. So you can see a continuity and also the change. And also the spice market, which is Khari Bavli, which was set up during Mughal time. It's still, the tradition is alive. They're still selling a lot of spices, a lot of dry fruits. So you'll find everything there.
So is it still, I mean, these shops that are still existing, is there, so is it like handed over from one generation to the next?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been like, I mean, they are the third or the fourth generation of the same people who are running the shops in different places, whether it's in Chandni Chowk, whether it's in Chabri Bazaar or in Urdu Bazaar or in Khari Babli. So they are the fourth or the fifth generation of the same people who are continuing in the same business.
And it's the same for some of the food places that you mentioned, like Kareem's, and you mentioned a couple of others. So it's the same with them as well. It's like handed down from one generation to the next.
Yes, actually, it's handed down one generation to another.
Interesting. And so, yeah, so for you, I mean, I understand why you would, because you obviously appreciate, you've been a part of the transition, and that must be quite fascinating. And obviously you have an eye for it because, you know, history is your thing, and you are an archaeologist and you have these heritage walks. So you must be looking at things in a very different
manner.
Yeah. And something that we may not notice, obviously, is something that you would observe. So that's really fascinating. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed, and it kind of helps in, and I'm sure my listeners will feel the same, in getting, there's a lot of information which is, when you hear it from someone who is a part of it, then it adds a different dimension. So I really enjoyed listening to you talk about Old Delhi, and it's amazing the kind of work that Myra Foundation is doing. And I'm also hoping that through this consistent work that you're doing in terms of the heritage walks, in terms of education, in terms of helping create an awareness, will hopefully lead up to something bigger, where people may want government, or people may want to fund and help in restoration and preserving something which is so much a part of history, and a rich history, which I think we should not forget. So thank you once again, Yasir. I've really, like I said, enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Payal.
And good luck with all your endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm so impressed with Yasir's absolute commitment towards creating an awareness globally about his rich heritage. He's making a sincere attempt in preserving the culture and has also been able to combine it with his education. I learnt a lot from him by the end of the conversation, and I do hope you, my listeners, did the same. Until the next episode of Melting Pot, this is Payal signing off.